All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Christopher Yu podcast. This is a podcast about all things cultural, food, media, sports, video games, and the artistic struggle. Let's make the ordinary extraordinary. Come on in. Just don't forget to take your shoes off. And today we have our latest guest. This is her first time on the podcast. I'm very grateful for that. We go back since college. She is a professional stage performer of the musical theater variety. She is a certified personal trainer from NASM. She's currently based out of San Francisco, but she's traveled a lot, and I'm sure we'll hear about that more. But the one and only Allison J Parker is on. Yeah.
Hey, woohoo. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
How's everything going?
It's going well. Weather's great. And I did smell a whiff of smoke in the air, which is hopefully not a sign of things to come in
Yeah.
California this summer, but
Yeah.
kind of unavoidable. But otherwise, yeah, living the life. It's good.
It could be like so just for reference, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, I'm sorry. This episode will be coming out on the 6th. So we're essentially recording on Friday before the July weekend. So maybe someone's barbecuing.
Oh, let's say that.
Let's
We'll
say
say
that.
that.
Let's say that.
For
Let's
sure.
say that.
Some nice hot dogs. Sounds good.
Have you are you experiencing any of like the heat that like the Pacific Northwest experienced this past weekend, or have you been chilling?
No, it's chilling here. It's like there's a map
Wow.
going around, and it's about every place the Pacific Northwest is over 100, and San Francisco is about 60. So
Jeez
it's
Louise.
pretty nice here.
That's
Can't
pretty awesome.
complain. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
I guess I have questions, but since we first started since we talked about a barbecue, I actually just kind of want to talk about like barbecue stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. What are your like favorite things to eat at a barbecue?
Oh shoot.
Yeah. I can go first
Sure. Go
if
ahead.
that makes it easier for you.
Yeah, you seem really passionate. I'm also passionate about barbecue, but I'll go ahead and let you take the lead.
So my favorite thing that I think people sleep on are hot links. And
Hmm.
a hot link, for those that may not know, right, is like an American version of chorizo, where it's just like a spicy
Mm.
sausage, type thing. And so I like grilling up on like, just grilling them up, putting them between like a hot dog bun, and then just having like a hot dog, but that's more of like a spicy sausage type
Ooh.
situation.
All right.
That's kind of my. I mean, I love the classics. I'm a sucker for various salads that are not actual salads, but like
Yes.
carb salads,
The
like the
potato
potato
salad.
and
Yes.
macaronis.
The
Yeah,
macaroni.
you know what
Yes.
I'm saying.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, like a nice good baked potato. You know, all that, all that good stuff. Some carne asada. Just yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, I'm all about the brisket.
Mm, mm,
Brisket's great. Also a fan of the salad, the carb salad varieties.
right.
And I gotta go with like a spicy sauce. I mean, it's gotta make me cry a little bit.
Yeah.
That's my fave.
Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say, unnoticed. Currently, I have a plumber at my house right now. So if anyone hears anything that sounds like traffic or anything like that, it's simply my plumber doing things. So
Doing crazy things. I have my hot water heater guy here too, doing some hot water heating repairs. So there's all sorts of stuff going on.
yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, awesome. Thank you. Moving on then to the other stuff. So as a performer, maybe we can like talk about that. What's kind of your background as a performer? Like how did you start and how did you decide to pursue that career and yada yada yada? What's like your origin story, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I grew up in Northern California, and pretty much just took voice lessons and started doing musicals pretty young. And then basically in high school knew that that's what I was going to do. That's what I was going to pursue in college, and did the kind of whole circuit of East Coast auditions, things like that. got into kind of a big school and on the East Coast and for musical theater, and then realized that I didn't want to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And then that's when I actually had a friend, you may know her, Audrey Curd. She was in the BFA class of 2013. So yeah, maybe I think you were still at school at that point, but or you had been at school at that point. But she's from Chico as well, and she told me about Cal State Fullerton. Was like, this is a great program. It's competitive, but it's in-state tuition, and so I decided to go to Cal State Fullerton and pursue my degree there and train there, and then just have been basically accepting whatever jobs I get and auditioning as much as I can since then.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so like throughout your time, I mean, you've done like a huge variety of things, including like cruise lines and like things like that.
Mhm.
What's some of your like top experiences, whether it's because of a travel opportunity or maybe it's like a certain role that you had or things like that? Kind of what are like the highlights of your, performing journey?
I mean, now it seems well, it was my last performance on land. I was on a cruise ship, but when COVID hit, but I did a production of Mamma Mia right before I left on the cruise ship. That was the summer of 2019. And that was kind of my first, I would say, lead role in a professional production, in an equity production. And so that was a great experience for me, and learned a lot and worked really hard. And so that was up here in the Bay Area.
Nice. And how long have you been in the Bay Area?
Well, that's an interesting question. I've had connections here for a few years and never really officially lived here until COVID times. I was based in LA auditioning, and after COVID, or not after COVID, during COVID or when COVID hit and I got off the cruise ship, I had left my apartment in LA and came to the Bay Area. My boyfriend is living here, and so was kind of splitting time in the Bay Area, sheltering in place. And then also my mom had hip surgery right at the start of COVID. She was like one of the last elective surgeries that happened at the hospital. And so we had to help her out as well. So we were like the OG, we like to say we were like the OG COVID pod. We like invented it basically because we were sheltering in place in the Bay Area, but then would go and kind of help her out with like, getting groceries and day-to-day stuff in Chico. So so then I just kind of landed here, and then I started training folks here, personal training. And so now that things are opening up, I'm, figuring out what I'm going to do next. But
yeah, that's thank you for sharing. How's your mom now?
She's great. She's totally,
good? Okay.
She's good. Yeah, for sure. She made a good full recovery, and it was crazy.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good news.
Yeah,
Happy to hear that.
Yeah.
What do you think as like someone who has like a passion for the theater, the in-person intimate sort of like live performance experience, what do you think is like the future of that? Like, what does that look like?
Well, I had this kind of fatalistic attitude, to be honest. During COVID, I was like,
Yeah,
oh, this is
absolutely.
never going to come back and blah, blah, blah. And now it seems to be coming back. So I don't know. I definitely think maybe things will be different for a while. But Broadway has a return date, and they got to pack those houses in to make the money. So I think it'll look a little different, and I think people will take some more precautions. But I definitely think if anything, it'll come back stronger and in a different way. With all the the improvements and changes with casting BIPOC artists and things like that, that it's all kind of come to light while we were all sitting in our houses for this past year, and hopefully hopefully change from that will come as well. And so things will come back better than they were before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, I wanted to ask you about your like fitness and exercise journey.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast, thanks again for joining,
Of
is
course.
I think that your kind of well, I guess the first thing is that I don't particularly like know you super well. You know what I mean? Like, sure, we
Yeah.
went to the same school and had a few conversations in passing, and we have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Mm-hmm.
great mutual friends and things like that. But I mean, this is the most we've ever said to each other, like one on one, right?
Totally. Totally.
So I didn't really like know you, but of course following your social media, and I think your kind of branding as you really started pushing for your like coaching and your efforts as like a personal trainer, to me seemed really like authentic and like genuine. Like I felt that this was still really like you, and I was learning more about your like personality through this, whereas I feel that sometimes you know it's a tendency when someone's trying to like push for you know, to be, I don't even know if it's necessarily if people are trying to be like an influencer per se, right? But they're trying to market maybe themselves in a way that
Mm-hmm.
seems like just not authentic, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, just from what I've seen, yours definitely seems like it's really just like you just sharing knowledge and your experience, as a personal trainer and things like that. So yeah, I just wanted to, we'll just start this new topic about your experience with like fitness and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing to hear. Yeah. Oh, fitness journey. So, I mean, yeah, again, thank you for it's nice to hear someone's opinion of my Instagram other than like you're posting a lot. And which is, trying to start a new project like you are with your podcast as well. It can feel like, oh my God, everyone's so annoyed with me. But I'm just trying to take as much, advice from everywhere as possible of just like
Mm,
how to be yourself, and people want to look at real people, and the content needs to be real. It doesn't need to be something that you're trying to like copy someone else or be better than everyone else. And I think that's the big thing you said, that I'm not trying to be an influencer, which is and why I kind of got into getting certified and getting experience as well, is because there's a difference between someone who's trying to educate and help people, and then someone who's just trying to like push a brand or push a product by basically like modeling it on themselves. And
right.
that's like
Right.
basically the difference between like an online coach or a coach and then an influencer. So I'm glad you're getting that from my content.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. But I've always I mean, since college, I got into weightlifting and just kind of into an exercise routine. With I basically came to college overweight, and that standard is different for everyone. But I was mainly just I knew I was overweight. I knew I'd put on like at least 30 pounds in almost one summer. Um, and my dad had recently passed away, which I didn't feel like at the time was why I maybe had put on weight, but I think there was a lot of different factors. Sorry, my microphone is just like slowly going down, so I'm just gonna do a little movement there. There we go. Okay, I'm better. But yeah, so I came to college and knew that I wanted to make changes, and then it wasn't until about halfway through college, which if anyone listening went to or knows about Cal State Fullerton, and I'm sure you know, Chris, there's a big cut in the program about halfway through. And that was pretty stressful. So I was trying to get into the program. And then once I was in the program, knew I really wanted to kind of kick it up a notch. And I was already falling in love with weightlifting, and I was doing a lot of flexible dieting, which for those who don't know, it's basically like counting calories, which I know everyone's like, oh, counting calories, it's so horrible, but it's really not. It's really the best. And flexible dieting is great because you don't cut out any foods. So I knew that I was never going to be able to just eat chicken and broccoli for every meal, especially how busy I was with school. I just knew that I needed something that was working for me. And so with that, I ended up like doing my last kind of final push, and I ended up losing 30 pounds total, and then like about 15 pounds like in that summer and before that.
Wow.
But so basically just got into it that way. And then for me, have found a consistent fitness and exercise routine and schedule since then. It kind of keeps me sane. And
Mm.
especially during COVID, I took up a lot of outdoor sports activities like outdoor cycling and running. I ran a half marathon in November of 2020. And I just like that have fallen in love and fallen deeper in love with moving my body and exercising. But kind of going along with what you said about branding, I'm not the leanest person in the world. I am not the fittest person in the world. And I think there's this feeling like if you're a fitness professional, if you're a fitness coach, you have to be the best and you have to be the strongest, and you have to like look a certain way. And I'm trying to flip the script on that of everyone should have, especially performers, should have some sort of fitness and exercise routine that works for them. And so that's kind of how I launched into coaching and launched into studying for my personal training certification. This was kind of in the height of COVID, as I'm sure everyone found, an outlet or a way. They're like, well, who knows when performing is going to come back, so I'll do X, Y, and Z. And that's kind of how I got my NASM certification, that kind of attitude. But I also knew that I was like, this is a great time to study. I have the time um, and the energy, so I'll just go for it. And with all that in mind, I've always kind of had this passion for helping performers and just busy people with kind of alternative schedules, find time to work out. So that's my long-winded answer to your question.
That was great. Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love what you said about, moving your body. And to me, I found that, so for me personally, trying to think like, do I give the whole backstory or do I
Do
just
it.
do it? All
Do
right. So
it. Share with
basically,
us. This is the
as
Christopher You podcast after all. So, you got
that's right. Thank you.
it.
um, I I grew up like pretty overweight because we didn't know too much about like nutrition in my family. And I wasn't super active. I did like martial arts when I was a kid, but didn't really like do anything like athletic. This is when when did I discuss this? I had, if anyone refers to episode either 10 or 11 with Casey or Savannah, I was telling them that because I knew I wasn't like a cool sporty kid in fourth grade, I learned the lesson of like how valuable it is to be funny to get like a girl's attention. So this is completely tied into that. But anyways,
Totally.
uh,
Totally. I actually, just to chime in, it was the same thing happened for me. I was always bigger. I was always just taller, but also bigger than all of my friends. And that's where I got my I like to say funny personality as well. So
that's
I
right.
think it's important. I think it's good. As long as you didn't peak in elementary school, I think, we all have better personalities for it. Anyway, continue.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. And so in high school, I started like lifting a little bit because the apartment complex where we lived had like a little fitness center. So I did the like traditional, what every dude does, which is just like chest and shoulders and
Yeah.
like some back,
Nice.
and just
Yep.
like crunches for days, but
Tricep rope, just like
not even that. Not even
oh,
that,
no,
man.
no,
Yeah,
no.
I wasn't even
Okay.
that. Oh, actually, I did a little bit of like a pull down, but it wasn't the rope.
Yeah.
It was just like a bar. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah,
Sick.
it was sick. It was pretty simple. But of course,
Yeah.
like still had a high body fat, wasn't particularly lean. But anyways, and then when I started at Fullerton, I did P90X because someone on the floor had dumbbells and the DVDs, and
Mm,
so that's probably when the first time I got into like really good shape,
mhm.
in the sense that I was very proud of my um because like the whole phrase good we're just gonna debunk so many like fitness taboos and things, Allison. Like I just feel
Yeah.
like
Okay. Cool. I'm
we're
feeling a spin-off podcast coming.
yeah. Oh, actually, okay. All right. We'll talk.
We'll talk.
Yeah, because so when I say good shape, I mean like a healthier body composition
Hmm.
in the sense that like my body fat was low enough that I could see like definition and like things like that, but I still had like a certain amount of like muscle,
Hmm. Hmm.
and so it wasn't like too much muscle that it was like getting in the way, but also wasn't too much body fat that was getting in the way, which is kind of what I'd been like used to, you know. So
Hmm.
I liked where I was. I was like fairly lean and like things like that, you know.
Were you living in the dorms at this time?
Yes. That's the only time.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So you had the unlimited like pizza and the gastronome kind of situation
Right.
as well too though. So were you
Exactly.
dialed in on your nutrition?
I think because had such a I was like just burning so many calories throughout the day.
Mm.
Um it really and I just wasn't sleeping a lot either. So I could eat. I didn't go crazy, you know,
Yeah, but you weren't
but
super. You probably just ended up burning everything off.
exactly.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So that and I've always had this kind of like weird complex where in my head um I'm always like too big in my head. Like I'm always trying to be like smaller. Like I'm either trying to
Mm,
be smaller like body wise or maybe just my, you know, personality or things like that, especially like
mm,
during this time, you know.
mm, mhm,
And yeah, so and so like even like I could sense myself like I don't want to get like when I started like really lifting, like I don't want to get like too big or things like that. Like I want to be able to, especially like growing up and being like, you know, uncomfortable and not confident because of your like body fat percentage basically. You
yeah,
know, I was like just obsessed with like you know, just fitting into like medium shirts, just
yeah,
like being
yeah.
able to like get anything off the rack at H&M slim fit, you know.
Right, right.
But when I look at photos of myself now, I'm like, dude, I was like way too skinny. Like I like wasn't even, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And also during this time when I worked at Disney, I had to have a certain body composition because like that was what was required of me for like my job, you
Mhm.
know, which as a performer, this all, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
we have
yeah.
to have a certain
Yeah,
physique.
you have totally. Yeah. There's definitely like a little asterisk next to that thing where it's like no matter what body shape or size you are, asterisk, except for performer and like you have to fit into the same costume 8 shows a week.
Right.
Dot.
Exactly.
Which is again why this is you're singing my song here. But keep
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
So it wasn't until so basically when I left Disney and I started my, you know, like a new job, I just said like screw it to like body composition, you know? And that's when I really started
Yeah.
falling in love with like strength training because the whole time I was pursuing like bodybuilding type training,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, because I wanted a certain like a low body fat percentage, but I wanted to be like muscular or to some extent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a theme where I like balloon in and out, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I get big and then I get, you know, um
Mm-hmm.
it based on like my mental health or like what's going on in my
Yeah.
life, et cetera, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so fast forward, we're talking now like 2018, 2019, you know, just super fell in love with like strength training, just wanted to like, you know, see I was just squatting, benching and deadlifting and things like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then 2020 let myself go basically.
I
And
mean,
now yeah, and now I'm at this point where I currently I'm trying to pursue like a certain physique goal because my girlfriend Monica and I we have a wedding to attend in August and
mm-hmm.
I only got one suit So you see what I'm saying? That's
Yep.
all. You know,
Hey, that's sometimes the best way to do it is you got to have that deadline and
yeah,
totally. The suit helps. Yeah, you're like, okay, this is what I'm wearing, so I'm either going to safety pin it closed
yeah.
or, or whatever. So
Exactly, exactly.
that's
So
great.
now I think like for the first time I'm training or I'm learning because now I'm working on body recomposition again where I'm trying to, lose fat and build muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first time, like I'm really doing it for me, not for a job or, whatever, my own insecurity, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm really like doing it for like myself. So I really don't know like where I was going with that. But yeah.
No, it's good. I mean, you've clearly rode the wave of health and fitness as well, which is I never knew that about you. So this is how cool we get to. I've seen your Instagram as well. So it looks like you have a home setup. No,
Yeah, so
yeah, you have a squat
basically,
rack.
yeah. So thankfully I was able to still work during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime we received like a stimulus or something, some of that would go to like basically like a home gym
Yeah.
fund. And just over time I was able to build up, what we have because Monica is also super into strength training and just like fitness and
Oh, great.
things like
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah. She has a more
Yeah.
athletic background where she like played basketball like all throughout her life until like college basically.
Yeah.
So she likes like performance based stuff and I'm moving into like performance based type things where like I want to be able to, you know, like clean and jerk a certain amount of weight, but still touch my toes, but still like not get winded going up the stairs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Cool.
yeah, it's a great garage gym. We're very happy with it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I like walking down the street in San Francisco with people have their garages open and I like totally look in and see, I'm like, what's your home gym set up in there? And people got some good stuff. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I wish I had a garage space. I would maybe make some sort of setup, but alas.
One day.
One day.
So what do you think are like some like fitness taboos and like not necessarily taboos, but just like misconceptions people have
Oh, man.
about getting in shape and all that stuff. I have one I'd like to bring up to you, but I'd like to please turn it to you since I just shared my whole life
Okay.
story.
This is actually more of a nutrition. And this is kind of there's always kind of a fine line. I feel a little bit weird always sometimes talking about nutrition because as personal trainers, we're not certified nutritionists, but this is just my own opinion. But that certain foods are good and certain foods are bad. Um, and there's obviously certain foods have different nutritional value and micronutrients, etc. But I'll never forget when I was kind of in the height of losing my final push, my last big weight loss, and I was eating salami, and one of my friends was like, but you're trying to lose weight, like why are you eating salami? And I was like, oh, I didn't want to get into it, but I was like, salami isn't bad if you eat it in moderation. And like, so anyway, that's my biggest thing is that, I mean, you can eat French fries and reach your goals. Obviously, you can't eat all the French fries, but I think also too, that helps with, uh, not binging and restricting, I think is a big thing as well of like
Hmm.
people say that they'll never have French fries again or they're not going to eat French fries and then they end up when they can't eat French fries eating 3 orders of French fries. So I think just that like saying that like French fries are bad but other foods are good and just putting that label on food, that's my biggest pet peeve.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes. How do you feel about the word toned?
Oh,
Can
you're
we talk
pushing the
about toned?
button. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have a pretty pretty decent client roster these days, and
Yeah,
I love all my clients, but every time I meet with a new client, what is
right.
their goal?
They want to get
I
toned.
want to get toned. Do you want to lose weight? No, I just want to get toned. Okay, cool. And then we're like 3 or 4 weeks into our, our sessions, and they're like, well, I haven't really lost any weight. Oh, okay. Well, you didn't want to lose weight. That wasn't your goal. So now, it's people, that's my opinion on toned. It doesn't exist.
Thank you.
And as
Thank
I'm
you.
sure it's like, you have fat loss and then you have muscle gain, and it's really hard to do both at the same time. And so that, yeah, you gotta lose the fat to see the muscle underneath, and then you got to build the muscle while you're also losing the fat. Mic drop.
Drop.
Anyway, what is
That's
that?
it.
Was that your biggest pet peeve? Was that your misconception?
Yeah, I just feel so fucking betrayed. I've been like lied and misled to. I mean, the entire fitness industry is a complete sham,
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and so I think yeah, I feel oh man, this is so great because I finally get to talk about fitness with like someone.
Yeah. I know. Totally. So
Yeah.
okay, so tell me about your opinion on toned. What do you think?
Okay, so here's why. Okay, so for those who are listening, they're like, why are they so upset about the word toned? I want to get toned. I We understand, right? It's not necessary because people think that I want to get I want to get toned. So what does that mean? I want to lose fat and I want my muscles to show. Maybe not too much, but I want you to be able to see what I got, which is great. But here's the thing, guys. Okay? You have to build the muscle. And what gives me the biggest frustration is that there's a disconnect of like I want to get toned, but I don't want to lift heavy weights. Or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Obviously, heavy relative to you, which is, you know,
right.
the point, right?
Totally.
But I don't know, like who says it. It's probably Ronnie Coleman, right? Who's arguably the most prestigious bodybuilder of all time, besides
Mm-hmm.
Arnold, but specifically, like, yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
merit alone as a bodybuilder, right? I'm pretty sure Ronnie Coleman, who's won the Mr. Olympia competition many times. I think 8, but don't quote me on this. He says like everybody wants to be Mr. Olympia, but nobody wants to lift no heavy ass weight or something like that.
Ooh, yeah.
And so I think if you want to get air quotes here toned, you have to lift weight heavy.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, you got
Mm-hmm.
to get out of that like 20 rep range. You
Yeah.
gotta, you know what I mean?
Totally.
You have to like
Totally.
get strong. And yeah, so
Now, I will say that there is a point of when you're first starting out, you've never lifted anything in your entire life. The 20 rep range, getting those ligaments and tendons
oh yeah.
strong is important for sure.
Yes.
For
Yes, thank
sure.
you.
And I feel like you and we're coming at this, we're agreeing in the middle, and I feel like our passions deviate. You're like, people don't want to lift heavy, and I'm like, people don't want to dial in their nutrition. And I think it's because it's both together, and it's
Yeah.
like they want to do X, but they don't want to do Y. And it's like, no, well, if you want to get toned, which is lose fat and build muscle, you have to watch what you're eating and burn more calories than you're consuming, and also lift heavy shit. Oops, I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss.
You can
Lift
curse.
heavy stuff.
You can curse. You can
Okay,
curse.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay, okay.
absolutely.
But yeah,
Yeah,
totally. You got to do both.
you got to do both. And I
Mhm.
think, damn it, what was I going to say? I'm just so happy that we're like talking about this
I
that
know, I know. It's so
I lost
gets
my.
me fired up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What? Okay, until I think of. Oh, okay. So if you're a beginner and you haven't lifted like consistently for let's say like up to a year, or maybe or you used to be consistent and then you've like dropped off, it's totally possible to some degree burn fat and build muscle at the same time. It
Mhm,
happens to like beginners because you're creating this like stimulus your body's not like used to.
mhm,
But once you're like well within that process, that the efficiency of doing both at the same time tends to like drop off. That's why like folks that have been lifting for many years, they do the bulk where they you know increase their caloric intake, they probably will increase their like body fat percentage,
Mhm.
which will then allow them to build muscle or increase their strength on certain lifts. That's a whole nother thing in terms of like muscle hypertrophy, muscle size
Right.
versus like muscle
Totally.
strength.
Totally.
But anyways, maybe we'll talk about that, and then they'll like cut, and then they'll work on,
Right.
and so some of those gains will, inarguably a little bit will like drop off, but ultimately they'll leave either bigger or stronger than when they first started. So
Mhm.
unless you're like advanced, you know, but most people, right, can do both at the same
Mhm.
time. But
Mhm.
just know that if you want to get toned, you have to you have to do just like what Allison is saying, right? Listen to the personal train. Don't listen to me. I have no credentials to my name. All right. I'm just a lover of the sport. But listen to where, where the pen meets the paper with Allison, right? You gotta do it both. You gotta lift things,
Mhm.
and you gotta just be mindful of what you're eating.
Totally. Yep. Really more simple than people make it out to be. And
Truly.
I've had
Yeah.
a lot of clients, and they're like, what time of day should I eat? And, what's the best food to, and can I eat before I go to bed? And it's like, I mean, I'm just totally, I mean, you could probably find some studies that, when do I do cardio? It's like there's all these things. And I mean, are there, what I say is when's the best time to do cardio is the time where you can do it. Like,
Hmm.
or the time that you'll do it every day consistently. Because if I tell you some, random time of day to do cardio, like do it when you first get up. Well, what if you don't do it when you first get up? Then you're going to be like, well, I'm not going to do it anymore today. So it's like, just get it done. Just build it into your day, no matter where it is. And it might be different every day, but I mean, consistency is just the most important thing. And I mean, show up at 80% for a year and you'll see amazing results. And if you showed up 100% for, you know, a month
Yeah.
and then go back to, zero or whatever for the rest
Right.
of it and then wonder,
Exactly. What you just shared reminds me. There's this MMA coach called Farhas Sahabi, who's arguably one of the best MMA coaches of all time, modern MMA coaches, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and so they were talking about fitness, and so Farhas made this argument about, you know, when you go exercise, just stop once you start feeling good, and because most people will want to like keep going, and they'll want to like wreck themselves, and he's
Mm-hmm.
saying like, but if you absolutely wreck yourself, you're not going to go back in the next day or the
Mm-hmm.
day after that, and
Right.
then on the third day or so, you're gonna have this battle of like guilt because you didn't go the past 2 days. That might stop you from going, or you're gonna go wreck yourself again,
Right.
and then fast forward, it's been a week. You've only exercised like 3 times a
Mm-hmm.
week, or 5, 6, 7 times in a whole month.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like if you just go in, like you said, 80% or whatever until you just feel
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
that's fine,
Yeah.
because then you can still keep going back, right?
Totally. And that's a big thing with personal training, especially with my in-person clients, is people think that, especially like if you start with a personal trainer, people expect to be just like, oh, or some personal trainers feel like they need to wreck people, and they, you go into the first session and it's like, how sweaty and tired can I get this person so that they'll keep coming back, so that they
Hmm.
know I'm a good trainer. I'm doing air quotes if you're listening. um and that's just not what it is. And strength training is, as it's a long-term thing. It's not a short-term, cardio. You get that instant gratification. You've got the sweat going, you've got your heart rate up, and strength training isn't always like that. A soreness is not a sign of a good workout. And most of the time, you mean a little soreness, okay, you worked your muscles, but yeah, if you just can't even walk, I mean, I'm sure you've done that as well. You've gone too hard in the gym or something and you can't walk. And it's like, you can't, and you shouldn't be working out that way consistently. That's
Hmm.
just not sustainable. And it's hard with being in the industry of like trying to, sell or, provide a service for someone. And, results take time. They take a long time,
Yeah.
and you're not going to see results of doing those bicep curls. You got to do them a lot, and you got to do them consistently, and keep going, keep challenging, keep going up in weight. And then, maybe you won't see the result for a few months to a year, but you got to keep showing up. That's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think another thing the fitness industry just lies to you about is what you said, the speed of results, right? Because like think of how
Mm-hmm.
many things are titled like blah 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 in 30 days, or
Yeah.
I just did this in like in 2 weeks, or things like that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, fitness isn't about what's going to get you to your goals the quickest, but more so like what's going to, you know, give you something to get you moving day in day out every week
Right.
long term,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
what's going to make you the most consistent. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many ways to do it. Folks can, like, if someone's like interested in, or like just wants to know like how do they start, you just find something you like. For some
Yep.
people it's I want to do a sport. For some people it's I want to do like dance classes. For some folks it's
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to take a walk every day at some time that works for me, like Allison shared. Or
Mm-hmm.
some people are going to lift weights, and some people are going to do it for, you know muscle size. Some people are going to do it for strength. I mean, there's like so many things, but essentially like whatever gets you moving, that you can also to some degree track your progress, is, you know
Yep. That's
i
it.
I really need.
Yep. For sure. You hit the nail on the head. That is for sure. Yeah. And everyone thinks like, well, I hate running. It's like, well, then don't run.
Yeah, don't run.
Walk. I mean, walking is, again, this is like the unsexiest fitness advice ever, but like walking is so underrated. And I think
Yeah.
during COVID, a lot of us, especially me as well, found like walking is so amazing. And you can do other things. You can listen to podcasts while you walk, and you can, I mean, I get some of my best ideas when I'm walking around, just, and your brain is not in front of a screen. And yeah, I mean, and you'd be amazed. I mean, you can really, really change your body and your physique with just walking. I
Yeah.
mean, to a point, but change your mindset mainly.
Yeah. So if someone's, let's say like someone's listening to this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they want to start, you know, working on their like fitness,
Mm-hmm.
right? And let's say they have little to no experience of being active, you know,
Mm-hmm.
how would you like guide them in the right direction just to gain some momentum?
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say start really small, like 1 mile or like 15 minutes even of walking or biking, something just to get moving. And then do you mean just in general like that, or as far as strength training goes?
Yeah, I would say in general, like just the
Yeah.
most blanket, you know.
I, my big advice is like 15 minutes 3 times a week. Try and do that for a few weeks,
Mm,
and then build. But you got to have somewhere to go. A lot of my clients, especially, I'll say like, they're like, well, I'm going to eat 1,400 calories. And I say, how about you start with 17 or 1,800 calories? Now, mind you, these are all just random numbers. Don't eat, figure out what calories are best for you. But, it's like, why don't you bump up those calories and really, really focus on actually eating that amount. And then, because then you have to have somewhere to go. If you start dieting on 1,400 calories, well, then you might see results faster, but there's not a long ways to go from 1,400 calories. You know what I mean? So you got to really, really start small and easy. And like you were saying, you're going to a wedding. I think it's so important to find those, make goals that are measurable in that way, and there's either a time or something at the end of it. I think what pushed me to finally do mine was it was my 21st birthday. And I was like, okay, I have this whole summer. At the end of the summer is my 21st birthday. I want this, I want to be this weight and I want to look this way by my 21st birthday. I know the date. And, and that was keeping me on track. So I think, yeah, setting a goal that's, realistic and measurable and, with time sensitive.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What I'm just so happy to talk about fitness.
I
What
know. Good.
what are your some of your favorite like workouts or like lifts to do? You know, like you walk into the gym and you're like, I'm just gonna do the things that I really like.
Yeah. I like to do I like to start actually at some sort of cardio machine that might be like, what? But I love just that. To me, I can't walk in and like do some stretching and hit the, the bar or whatever. I've got to like clear my head, and I love getting my heart rate up right from the beginning. And it may not be like a full 30-minute cardio session, but anywhere from like 10 to 15 minutes, either incline walking, something like that, that just gets me totally in the right headspace. And then if I had to just kind of hit anything, I'm probably doing like, man, I'd probably doing some sort of like back like pull workout. I work in like really kind of functional. I think it's important for people who don't, aren't looking to do their, I think you said like you're trying to do your like clean and jerk or whatever, people who just have really basic goals. And I think it's good to think functional. So like push, pull, squat, hinge, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm probably hitting like some back, and it's also a place I'm trying to strengthen, especially after sitting so much at the computer over the past year and a half. Really try and get those shoulders back. Try and do some upper body pulling, some
Mm-hmm.
back, some rowing, stuff like that. So it's probably what I'm gonna do. Maybe some legs. I usually try and do a little bit of, a little bit of squatting and some sort of compound movement that involves my legs as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I like to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
I
Personal preference.
I'm like a sucker for like squatting.
Yeah.
I used to not really like leg movements because they used to just like bug my knee.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that, when I actually properly like warm up, like you said, on like a cardio machine,
Mm-hmm.
and like stretch and just kind of and really like control the movement, like specifically like barbell squatting,
Mm-hmm.
and not just relying on my joints and just like going down and like bouncing up, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
when I
Mm-hmm.
really hit like a really good squat, it just there's just something else, because there is like a danger factor of like squatting, where you're
Yeah,
like,
you squat pretty heavy.
well, yeah, I mean,
But I think squatting is, I mean, yeah, you got to do it right, or
right,
yeah,
right.
or
Or
you're
there's
headed
this
into
moment,
injury
when you're
time.
like about to hit like a PR,
Mm-hmm.
which is a personal record for those who are listening, right? And you're like, either I'm gonna die or I'm gonna squat this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's this wonderful little moment of like do or die,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your kind of like favorite things to like listen to? Like what the workout playlist type of, you know.
Honestly, it depends on the day. Sometimes I walk in and I'm like, I need music. I need like rap. I know Kanye West is kind of controversial these days, but I'm like a good fan of like some late 2000s Kanye West. Sometimes
Yeah.
that'll get it going for me.
Hmm.
And then other days I'm like, I need to listen to a podcast. Like I can't listen to music. I need to listen to like talking. I don't know. It's really weird. So mine changes. I'm not like, I have to listen to this. Definitely changes with just whatever mood I'm in. Um, but yeah, or honestly, at least in college when I was doing a lot of like super intense lifting, most of the time I'd be listening to like music to learn for something. So I would like
Right.
have something just going that I was trying to memorize, which I think is also great. A good time to like just have things get a little bit of an earworm. So anyway, what do you like to listen to?
I just anything that's like pretty upbeat, like a lot of like electronic music it's been
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
recently, and a lot of like hip hop, but I try to lean more into the electronic music because I'm trying actually not to like listen to the music. I'm just using it just to create like an environment that's just kind of like,
Mm.
upbeat and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
aggressive more or less,
High energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
And so if I'm listening to like hip hop, then I'm actually going to listen to like more so the production or whatever someone's saying and things like that. So I
Right.
try to, but I've also been listening to a lot of like rock, which has been good. I listened
Mm.
to some like Crown the Empire, which is really great. I don't know what category. Let me look this up. What they're like. There's so many categories of rock.
Yeah.
That
Rock is kind of, yeah.
it's yeah. It's really not. Oh god, their genre literally just says rock.
Oh,
Metalcore.
oh,
Metalcore. That's it.
metalcore.
There it
All
is.
right.
But you know what I listened to the other day? It wasn't bad. My Chemical Romance.
Ah,
That it was pretty
that's
good.
quite a throwback.
Yeah. Like the Black Parade album. I don't know if that's the name of the album, but the album that has the Black Parade.
Mm.
Just don't listen to that song. But the other
Mm.
songs, it it it
Yeah,
it does you good.
I love a good throwback. I'll do it like because I like to I kind of like sing, and especially if I'm about to like do some heavier squatting or something, I got to be like, I don't know. I like to kind of sing out loud. It's quite annoying if the gym is busy, but yeah, you got to like jam out
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's great. As we're kind of approaching the end of this, what are some of your like upcoming goals or projects that you're like excited to work on, whether it's fitness related, either you as a coach or with your
Mm-hmm.
clients or as a performer, like what does the rest of 2021 look like for you? Anything that you're looking forward to?
Yeah. So I am training clients in person, and I'm really, along with that, really trying to launch some more online coaching. And I think where I'm kind of at now is I'm trying to put together material and content to educate people on what that even is, because I think a lot of people don't know, what it means to have an online fitness coach, or it's like that's a scam or something, like but essentially it's just putting together programming for, and I'm passionate about doing it for performers because of what we just already talked about of I think it's so important for performers to have a fitness routine, exercise routine, um, because our bodies, as much as we don't want them to be, are part of our package, part of our instrument. And so I think that's super important. And online coaching is a more economic way to work with someone one-on-one and get support and accountability. So basically just trying to get that up and running. Have a few clients now, so just trying to kind of expand that and grow that. And then maybe starting, performance wise, starting to audition maybe, but who knows what the rest will bring with that. So um yeah, just trying to keep making good content, and yeah, that's pretty
Hmm,
much it.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
How can people find you, whether it's your Instagram or if they're interested in, you as their coach after
Yeah.
hearing everything you shared? Yeah.
For sure. So I'm on Instagram at Allison J Parker underscore. Because I've messaged Allison J Parker and she won't give me her handle. So
Mm,
I've got the underscore at the end, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's my like personal and fitness Instagram. And then my website is allisonjparker.com. And you can find a link there to if you want to apply for coaching or get more information. And you can always like DM me on Instagram or whatever. I'm pretty much active on there, and always, trying to just make connections with people too. It's not all about, the business. I mean, it's part of it. It's just making connections with people. And I mean, I'd talk about this with anyone if they wanted to listen the way we've been talking now, of just like fitness doesn't have to be hard, and it's so important to have a routine. And so I'll pretty much tell anyone that for free
mm.
if they'll listen to me.
There it is. There it is.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Cool.
yeah. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for
Anything
having
else
me.
you'd like to say before I take us out?
No, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's great.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sure you'll be back, or we'll do a
Yeah.
spin-off like you mentioned
I
earlier.
think that sounds great.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for
Cool.
tuning in today. You can check out the podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. Again, the Christopher J. U podcast. You can catch me on Instagram at Christopher J. U. You can also catch my YouTube at Christopher J. U, where you can watch the video recording of this if you want to see us, not just like listen to us. If you are seeing us, I'll wave right now. And if you're listening in only, you're missing all the good stuff. Allison's throwing up peace
All the
signs,
stuff. We're both
all
in
this
black and
stuff.
it's very edgy.
Yeah. We're so cool. We're like, I can't think of that band. Anyways, you can also catch me on Twitch at Twin Turbro, TWINTURBRO. You can also catch my Twitch highlights on YouTube as well. Once again, the YouTube is at Christopher J. U. Super simple. And that's it. So please continue to tune in. Thanks for all your support. Please take care of yourselves. And if you can, someone else as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.